Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Capital One Bank, New York Community Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Customers Bank, Ariel Property Advisors, Dime Community Bank. Additional funding has been provided by AmTrust Title Insurance Company, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, JP Morgan Chase, Citizens Bank, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, CPEX Real Estate Services, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handler Real Estate Organization, Handro Properties, Hodges Ward Elliott, Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Marinkoff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Organization, Moynihan Capital Partners, and these friends.
The Midwood section of Brooklyn, Glen Oaks, Queens. Oh, my father can find a house where he can make the commutation based on a certain number. We'll move to Deer Park. My father was an Eagle Scout, so I'll become a Brownie and I'll become a Girl Scout. Maybe I'll go to Barnard. Nah, forget Barnard. I'm going to go to Adelphi. Adelphi, school teacher? I like it, but really I should be a social worker. Yale. Come back to New York, Florida. Oh, no, there's a good opportunity in New York. One opportunity. But you know what? I really should go for my doctorate. Okay, 1 degree, 2 degrees, now 3 degrees. You know, there's this place called the Jewish Home. They really have certain interesting programs. So today I have a person who's a undergraduate, master's, and a doctorate, an author, also the retired head of the Jewish Home, and who's the head of the foundation, Audrey Weiner. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
So tell me about your parents. Tell me your dad's side first, the accountant, and your mom.
Well, both my parents were born in the States.
Okay.
Both my parents were born in Brooklyn.
So tell me how dad's family arrived in America and then mom's.
So my dad's parents were born in Russia and came to the States when they were young, raised my father and his 2 brothers. His father died when he was very young, and the only time I ever remember my father crying was when his mother died. Okay. And his mom died when I was a little girl.
Okay, so that's dad's side.
Yes.
Okay, mom's side.
So mom's side is a little bit more interesting.
Right.
Because
Palestine, other places,
yeah. Her grandmother, my great-grandmother, was born in Russia, went to Palestine, married, had children. All of those children died in varying diseases that were related to sanitation. She went back to Russia, married again, had my grandmother and several of my aunts and uncles, and then came to the States. So that my grandmother came to America when she was 3. But when anybody said, "Where were you born?" she always said America.
And because she was 3.
Exactly.
Okay, so Dad grows up in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the Navy, and then he comes back for the GI Bill. Your mother, I believe, wanted to go to college?
Yes, my mom wanted to go to college and got into college.
Right.
She got into New Paltz, got a scholarship, but there wasn't enough money in the family to even pay for the incidental expenses.
How does Mom meet Dad?
So after the Navy, Dad goes to Brooklyn College on the GI Bill, as you mentioned. They meet at a fraternity event, and I think he sweeps her off her feet.
Okay, and we have this wonderful photo of Mom and Dad. What was that, the chiffon?
It was a satin wedding dress, and she looks so beautiful.
What year did they get married?
1950.
Okay, you're born in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's you and your sister, right?
Yes.
Who's older?
I'm older.
Where did you originally start in Brooklyn? The Midwood section?
Midwood section of Brooklyn. We moved from Brooklyn to Glen Oaks, Queens when I was 2.
Right.
My sister was born when I was 4. And when I was 6, we made that giant trek out to Deer Park.
Now, at that time, Dad was still with the legendary accounting firm S.D. Leidersdorf?
Yes, he was.
Okay, and you go out to Deer Park, and the story was the commutation had to be reasonable enough that he could afford it. That was one. And then the price was a certain price, $148 or something.
Well, the price of the house was $16,999.
Right. As I said to you, that's because most of the builders at that time came out of the garment center, and they remember the 999. So it was $16,999, but the monthly commutation to New York City.
Oh, it was less than $100 in those days.
Right. And at this time, Deer Park was farms. Okay?
It was, and the Long Island Expressway
Ended.
didn't go out to exit 51. The Southern State did. And life revolved, as it does in many suburban communities, around the school. So we walked to our local elementary school. The synagogue in those days
was nearby also, you said.
was nearby, but started out in a firehouse. Ultimately was 2 blocks away from our house, so we were able to walk there. My dad, not unexpectedly, becomes the treasurer of the synagogue because all of those tasks are volunteer tasks. And like all of these suburban families, we grow up happily, playing on the streets. There's no such thing as a play date in those days.
Now, when did your father, he got sick later on?
Yes, when I was a senior in high school, he had a heart attack.
Okay, and that's when he went into the business. We have a picture of him
Yes.
in the office with Mom and Dad in the employment business.
Yes.
Now, you said to me when you were growing up, each summer you'd have this 2-week trip somewhere. Right. So where were these trips?
So my mother loved planning vacations, and she would spend 50 weeks of the year planning vacations.
Is it the same way with her daughter?
I also, but I don't spend 50 weeks of the year.
But you're a planner.
But I am a planner, and I love to plan vacations with my husband. And they didn't like to fly. And so these would be driving vacations that could be every place from the White Mountains in New Hampshire to Montreal and Quebec to the Blue Ridge Mountains in Gatlinburg.
And what about the Jewish Hamptons, a.k.a.
The Borscht Belt.
The Borscht Belt.
My father hated the Borscht Belt. I only was there, and we went to Grossinger's once that I could remember. They didn't love the 3 meals a day and all that food that got thrown at you.
What did you do during the summers when you were a kid in Deer Park?
Well, so remember...
Besides the 2 weeks.
Right. I was a Girl Scout.
Right.
And as a result of that, there was lots of...
Did you sell the cookies?
I did.
Okay.
But there weren't so many varieties then.
It didn't matter. The peppermint, the mint chips.
Right,
Okay, that's the only Girl Scout out there.
I agree.
Right.
So I would volunteer. Head Start was a new program that had started in the States, and we had a Head Start program in Deer Park. So I would volunteer there a few weeks a summer and volunteer a few weeks at the public library.
Now, you've been involved with Jewish affairs and Jewish activities for years. When did it happen? Was it from the synagogue, the initial synagogue?
Yes. So when I was in a high school, I was part of the youth group there. But it wasn't really until I got to college that I got involved in two things. One was an organization called Students for Peace in the Middle East. And remember, this is 1969, 1970, so it's right after Jerusalem becomes unified. And I became the assistant director of the Hillel there, and also started a Jewish radio program at Adelphi.
When was your first trip to Israel?
It wasn't until 1970.
So you graduated high school, number one in your class, and there was this discussion of Barnard and Princeton and some other places, but you ended up in Adelphi.
You know, like for my mother, money was an issue. You know, we didn't have tons of money, even though my father was successfully a middle-class professional.
Right.
And Adelphi gave me a full scholarship, room and board, tuition and fees. And
So you left Deer Park to go to Hempstead.
Garden City,
Garden
but
City,
yes,
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 Hempstead
indeed.
and Garden City, they were rather close. Okay.
Yes.
So talk to me about the days at Adelphi, okay? Because originally you wanted to be a physician.
Yes.
Okay, so what changed from being a physician to get involved with social work?
Well, my parents believed several obsolete things. The first was, of course, a young woman was going to get married. She was never going to have more education than the person she married, and she was never going to make more money than the person she married.
I'm happy that Jeff has his doctorate also.
And so they firmly believed that being a physician was not only wrong, but unacceptable. And while I went to school and became...
You were a chemistry major.
I was a chemistry major. And that had a lot to do with the fact that it was one of the few subjects that actually challenged me. But it was also about, if you combine two unrelated things, what does the product become? And that ultimately, that question, ultimately served me very well later when I would plan programs and services.
So you're at Adelphi during the summers, and sometimes your father was involved. He had a client or something who was in a publishing business?
Yes.
And at the publishing business, you'd proofread, right?
Right.
That was your job,
Yes.
proofreading. So what happens when you graduate Adelphi? You get a job in West Islip in a junior high school?
Yes. So I graduate as a chemistry major. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. And two things happen. Because, of course, I've minored in education because my parents needed me to do that. One of the faculty members there said to me, I think public health would be a very good field for you. And so I did some homework and found out that Yale had one of the best programs, but that didn't start until September. I graduated in 3.5 years, and so in January...
So you had the 3 months.
And there was an opening, and they needed a female science teacher in this junior high school.
How was it going to New Haven? I mean, because you were in Garden City, you've stayed, Deer Park, you know, in the neighborhood. New Haven was a different place. Yale was Yale was different than Adelphi.
It was. It was like you're not in Kansas anymore.
Right.
And what was great about Yale was the School of Public Health was part of the medical school. And as such, you were encouraged to take classes in the medical school. And since my interest was in mental health administration, I was in...
But how do you decide you wanted to be involved with mental health administration?
It was just what I was most interested in. I think that I was always concerned about people whose frailty was emotional more than physical.
But did you want to be a social worker?
No.
You didn't want to be a one-on-one with clinical social work?
I was much more focused on how do you create programs and services that will serve the community.
So what year do you graduate Yale?
So I graduate in 75.
And then what's the next step in the evolution?
So while I'm in New Haven, I make acquaintances with people who work at the American Heart Association, and they hire me as a program person. And so I begin to learn about cardiology and cardiac rehab, and with the Jewish Community Center there, and with volunteer cardiologists from Yale New Haven, we set up the first cardiac rehab program that existed in that city. I set up screenings for blood pressure. I got a grant to teach about prevention of cardiac risk factors in the public schools. And I learned lots of things, including collaboration with medical schools, grant writing, and public education.
So how long do you stay at the Heart Association?
I stayed there for 2 years, and then I moved down to Miami.
So in Miami, you end up where? At the Jewish home?
At the Miami Jewish Home.
Now, what was the Miami Jewish Home at this time?
So at that point, it was a preeminent voluntary not-for-profit.
Was it a nursing home?
It was a nursing home and was beginning to develop community services. So I get hired because they've gotten a federal grant to plan a community mental health center. So my knowledge of mental health services.
Right, and your administrative
Exactly.
background. Now you're down in Miami,
Right.
Okay, otherwise known as a place I don't like going to. And you stay there for how many years?
I'm there for 4 years.
And then it's time to return back to the Big Apple.
That's right.
Where you really had never worked, because, you know, you were in New Haven, you were in other places. What's your first job returning?
Well, so not only had I never worked there, I had never lived in New York City, in Manhattan. I was born in Brooklyn.
Right, so this was a transition.
That's right. And I had always said, I'm going to come back and live in Manhattan.
So where do you live?
I lived on Park Avenue South and 23rd Street in a building that the Community Services Society of New York had owned and just sold and was just converted to rentals.
We know exactly the building. So you're living there, and where do you get a job?
I get a job at Hebrew Home for the Aged at Riverdale.
Okay, the preeminent Hebrew home up in Riverdale. Right. And what's your job at, or should we say, the place that the Reinhardts built?
Yes.
Okay.
So Jacob Reingold hires me, and my job is as the medical administrator there. So I'm responsible for medicine and rehab and pharmacy and x-ray, and trying to move all of those services into a more modern approach to care.
You had to schlep. You were living on 23rd Street, and you had to go up to Riverdale.
Yes, indeed. And there was something called Execuvan that helped you with that schlep. And occasionally I drove my own car.
So you're at the Hebrew home for how many years? About 5?
No, I'm there for almost 10 years.
So what are you doing during those 10 years? What the job changed?
Well, so ultimately, I develop the community services programs there. Jacob Reingold was a visionary, and he knew that people wanted to be able to stay in their own homes. And he encouraged me to work with the teams so that we could get all the state permissions to open daycare programs and outpatient medical programs and home care programs there, as well as to develop programs for people with dementia. And doing those things and evaluating them really takes up the next 5-6 years of my career there.
So from there, is it the opportunity with Jewish Family Services? Okay, talk to me about Jewish Family Services.
Jewish Family Services at that point recognized that older adults weren't getting mental health services, back to my roots as an administrator. And they wanted to develop a series of programs so that people over the age of 65 could get the mental health services that they needed. They recognized that there was depression and social isolation, and there was the beginning of addiction long before it was recognized today. But sometimes the services that the CEO thinks are necessary are not necessarily what all of the middle management thinks is necessary. So I ended up, instead of doing that, I ended up supervising the programs for people with AIDS. Because remember, this is now the early 1990s. And Jewish Board was very progressive in terms of supportive housing and mental health services for that population.
Now, during this time, how'd you get the epiphany that you wanted to go for your doctorate?
People who are lucky have mentors. And Rose Dobroff, who started the Hunter College Brookdale Center on Aging, was my mentor. And one day she calls me and says, we're going to have breakfast. And if she says it, of course we're going to have breakfast. And she says to me, sweetie pie, you're young, you look young, and you need to go back and get your doctorate so people take you seriously.
So how did you decide to go to the Graduate Center of the City University?
I started with Yale. I picked up the phone, I called them, I said, I'd like to do my doctorate in public health, but I'd like to do it part-time. I'm prepared to come up a day or two a week, but I still need to work full-time. They couldn't figure out how to do it. I had the same conversation with Harvard School of Public Health. They couldn't figure out how to do a part-time program. So ultimately, I started looking in New York, and the Graduate Center and Hunter focus on the public and not-for-profit sector. And so Hunter College School of Social Work's program wasn't a clinical program, it was an administrative program focusing on the public and not-for-profit.
That was Hunter.
But you get your degree from the Graduate Center of the City of New York.
What year do you get your degree?
In '93.
So it's 93. You're still with Jewish Family Services at this time?
Yes.
And then what happens? Another opportunity comes about.
Yes. I get a call from the administrator or the CEO at the Jewish home. We had stayed in touch. And he said, I might have a job for you. And are you interested? We talked. He called me back in a week and said, I want you to come up and interview for our Westchester campus, Sarah Newman, because I'd like you to become the administrator.
So what was the Sarah Newman campus at that time?
Sarah Newman was a nursing home for 300 older adults at that time.
With a dementia or Alzheimer's program?
Not at that point. It was one of the things that we were able to develop once I was up there.
When do you, as they would say, get to the mothership?
5 years later,
okay.
I become the chief operating officer of the system.
Now that was interesting because it wasn't initially that, right?
That's correct.
So tell me the story, what happened?
When the CEO, Harvey Finkelstein, who had hired me, was getting ready to retire, the board appropriately, because it's the most important thing a board will ever do, hired a national search firm and set about doing a national search. And I was asked to apply for the job. But the board knew I wasn't ready for the job. And so what they ultimately said to me was, we're going to hire somebody who is a visionary, but he's never operated, he's never led a nursing home or a service provider. So we'd like you to become the chief operating officer, and you'll work with him, Sheldon Goldberg, who became the CEO.
So you're chief operating officer for how long? A couple
years, 2.5, 3 years.
And then?
Sheldon goes on to become the national director of the Alzheimer's Association in Chicago.
And there's an opening on...
And suddenly there's an opening. So he leaves, gives his notice at 8:30 in the morning, and by 12:30, I had been called.
What year is this now?
This is 2002.
Let's fast forward from 2002 over the past 16 years and really talk about what's happening. People have this connotation of nursing homes.
Right.
Let's talk about the newest programs that are taking place at the Jewish home, the newest building over there, and the greenhouse program, because I think it's so interesting. Tell me about that.
Well, I think we all know that nobody ever says, when I get old, I want to go live in a nursing home, right? What people will typically say to their children in the moment of ultimate guilt is, just shoot me, right? Do not ever put me in a nursing home. And kids, typically the adult daughters, have this enormous amount of guilt around what it will mean if mom or dad needs to go in a nursing home.
Because they believe the nursing home, they remember it's like Jack Nicklaus and the Cuckoos.
Right.
Okay, that's how they see the bed, they see...
Right. Well, nursing homes were built in the model of hospitals.
Right, so they were just one step below a hospital bed.
Right.
Okay, so talk to me about what the program is today.
So the question is, how can you change the face of elder care? A geriatrician by the name of Bill Thomas, who is a Harvard-trained geriatrician, was working as the medical director of a nursing home in upstate New York. And one day he asks his little son to come to work with him. And his son is incredibly depressed and says, you know, Dad, everybody looks so sad. And Bill comes away thinking and saying that loneliness and isolation and despair end up being the 3 plagues of nursing homes. And he begins to think about, what do you do? How do you create a way to take the nursing home services, nurses and physicians, and bring it to people in their homes? And he says, what if we just built a house? And in that house, we had 8 or 10 or 12 elders, and all of their bedrooms were around a central core where there was a living room and a dining room and a kitchen. And it wasn't home-like, it was home. And so he tried this model in Tupelo, Mississippi, to enormous success. And he named this model the greenhouse model, not because there's plants and trees, but because it's a place for elders to flourish. Because going in a nursing home doesn't mean you're going to die.
Right. Now, you initially put this into place at Sarah Newman,
Yes.
correct?
So we renovated, actually, some existing buildings and have created 3 of these houses, and right now are in the process of doing work so that in several months we'll open 2 more houses.
So let's talk about the main campus
Yes.
in Manhattan. What are you doing there?
So our presently Jewish Homes Manhattan campus is on 106th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam Avenues. It's in a building that was built, or a series of buildings that were built 60 and 70 years ago, that are exactly what you think of when you think of a nursing home. Long corridors, big nursing stations. And so we have plans to rebuild that nursing home on 97th Street between Columbus and Amsterdam, and to build 32 of these greenhouse homes within a 20-story high-rise building.
You retired, but you didn't retire. December 31st, 2017, you retired as the CEO.
Correct.
And you took the role of the CEO of the foundation.
The president of the foundation,
Okay.
yes.
Let's talk about family. You have a sister.
Yes.
And you're married to somebody who I met through you, Jeff Solomon. Tell me about the children.
We have a son, Michael, and a daughter-in-law, Jenny, and 2 wonderful grandchildren,
The names.
Lucy and Rainan, and they are 12 and 14.
So I think, in a way, it was really, as they would say, it was beshet that you did not become a physician and you became such a leader in elder care. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you very much.